She has worked her way up, and she's worked her way up by being very, very good at what she does. And I think we'll learn a lot from what she has to say tonight. So, Justine.
One of the best things in journalism is to talk to everybody. Talk to as many people as you can. I get assigned a story to work with a correspondent and a photographer, and I first of all figure out what the story is, what we're going to be talking about, how we're going to approach it. I do all the research, I make a lot of phone calls, I figure out who we need to interview, where we need to go, how we're going to get there. Then I take my team there and we see what we can find, and we put together a piece, we write it, we edit the video, and we transmit it back to the control room, which is usually in New York, and get it on air. But it's really quite challenging because there isn't a procedure per se. The job of a producer really is to troubleshoot and to do whatever it takes to get the story on air. There was one story I did in the Aleutian Islands in Alaska, which is the end of the earth. It is the most remote place you could ever go to. And so just getting there for one story, it took us a week to do one story because it took us 2 or 3 days to get there and to get back. And we were taking fishing boats and skiffs, and we nearly took a seaplane, except the weather was too bad, it couldn't fly. So just getting there was an adventure. It's a government accountability story. And this is actually, it's stories like this that convince me that the future of journalism is not in blogging. Because this is a story about a $77 million airport being built in the middle of nowhere for an island that has 100 people on it. And almost all of that money was federal tax money. It had been earmarked. And so on AC360, we do quite a lot of stories about government waste and earmarks that look like a bit of sort of quid pro quo between lawmakers and people who donate money to them. And the way we knew about this story was there'd been a few small articles written about it in the last few years, just small items, but no one had ever been there. Anyone who'd written anything about it, no one had actually been to this island or to see this airstrip being built. And so, they're debating the issues of whether these people need this airport and whether there's an alternative, like couldn't they have seaplanes going in? And it's all, those things really come down to the situation, the location, and the conditions there. So people who'd written about it had never been there. But it's really, as I said, time-consuming, expensive, and difficult to get there. And so that's when it's great to work for an organization like CNN, who have the capital. They can spend the money to send us all that way, whereas a blogger, understandably, just can't do that.
Yeah, in news literacy, we talk a lot about the watchdog function of the role of the press, and this is a terrific example. And did you ever find out who was behind this boondoggle?
Would you like to see the piece?
Calling this place remote would be an understatement. Thousands of acres of Alaskan wilderness on an uninhabited island. But you, the American taxpayer, are kicking in almost $60 million to build an airport here. That's right, your money for an airport on a deserted island.
The airport is slated to be done in August of 2012.
Joe Bariskin is the mayor of Akutan, Alaska, which is on another island 6 miles away. The airport is being built for his town, which has 100 residents. So you might wonder, as we did, why the 100 citizens of mountainous Akutan need an airport that's pricing out at about $77 million, most of it paid by you.
We have over 1,000 people that we need to serve.
Indeed, in addition to his 100 residents, there are about 1,100 other people who either come by boat or by occasional seaplane to work in Akutan, at the largest seafood processing plant in the U.S., called the Trident Seafood Company. Everyone agrees Trident will be the primary user of the airport, and the company's getting a pretty good deal for it. Of the $77 million the airport is expected to cost, Trident will pay $1 million. Steve Ellis is with Taxpayers for Common Sense.
We're looking at a waste of money here, and this is something where that you have a private company that is standing to get a driveway built for them by the taxpayer. And so this is outrageous use of taxpayer funds.
Trident's plant manager is Dave Abbasian.
Driveway for Trident, this airport. What's your response to that?
To a naked eye, you can't argue that.
But Trident says it has built its own infrastructure on this island, improved the lives of the native population, and sees no reason it should pay more than $1 million.
This is not something that is being handed to us. It is something that we've earned through all the contributions that we made towards the tax dollars. We have paid millions in tax dollars.
Many of the families who've been here for generations agree, saying the plant has improved opportunities. In the small post office, a postal worker says he doesn't feel badly about U.S. taxpayers footing most of the bill.
We all pay taxes just like everybody else does.
Trident, it changed the lifestyle in Akutan.
And as we continued talking to the mayor, the conversation struck a nerve.
If Trident wasn't here, do you think you would need
No.
this airport for 100 people?
No, that doesn't make sense, no.
So you acknowledge that Trident needs it far more than your people need it.
The city of Akutan as a community, we are a community, Gary. You need to open your eyes and see Akutan as a community. You need to turn the camera off. If you keep insisting on that, I'm not good talking to you, Gary.
But it's not only the airport funding that's getting negative attention.
It's still not clear how the passengers will get there. The original plan was a hovercraft at the cost of $13 million, but in other parts of Alaska, it doesn't always work. Then there's the thought of a helicopter. That's also very expensive. Or a boat like this one, but it takes between 20 and 40 minutes to get there, and it's cold and uncomfortable. So even though the airport's about to open, we don't know how people will get there.
It took us more than 2 days just to get there for our story.
Much of the time here, perhaps more than half the time, the waves are too high, the wind's too severe to get a boat close to the island where the airport is. Today is one of those days.
So we waited for the next day. The winds diminished, the skies cleared. We took a cargo boat, then a skiff. But there was a 90-foot muddy cliff between us and the construction site. We had to scale it so we could see how much progress was being made. Even the Trident bosses haven't yet been to the site.
Made it.
About 25 construction workers are living on the island for up to 2 months at a time. Gravel is just starting to be laid down on the runway. The airport project is on schedule. This is your airport, American taxpayer, even though seeing it on TV is probably the closest you'll ever get to it. Gary Tuckman, CNN, Akutan, Alaska.
I believe in the need for the craft of journalism. As far as the future of journalism and the sort of financial viability, I wish I knew the answer because it's a topic that I think we all discuss quite a lot. And things are clearly changing a lot, but I personally believe that journalism can't be replaced just by the internet.